hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. The world is waking up, and this is the tipping point.
Well, my friend, I'll tell you, the last couple of days, it seems like every time I'm just about ready to come and see you, something goes crazy. I got to tell you a funny story, a great story.
Yeah.
I have had a moment of what should I say, clarity on the power of media.
Yes.
So here's what happens. The other night, I was doing a Zoom and I was doing a live stream. I get off of it. My phone's blowing up. Everything's blowing up. I'm like, it's usually something good or bad happened. I look at it. People are like, uh-oh, you have no idea what's happening. I'm like, what? Lynn Wood took your video that launched your whole, this, when I took this time to explain to people after the election on the 12th of November, calm down, here's what's happening, and laid out the military operation. So that's what went crazy until YouTube canned it. And somewhere Lynn Wood found it and he put it on his Parler, just said, must watch truth. And it just went nuts. It got like 3.5 million views in like a day and a half. Wow. And all of a sudden the whole world blows up. I'm like, what just happened here? So it's like, I can't get any sleep. I couldn't get any sleep before this. And now everybody's going crazy. I can tell you're not getting much either. I can see it in your eyes.
Exactly. But I don't care.
It's fun.
I come from a farming mentality that we're in the harvest right now. It's every hand is necessary, and just get on and do it. I've got time to sleep later on when everything's sorted out.
Yeah, it's hard to miss a minute. My friends are saying, Scott, you got to slow down. You got to get some sleep. And I wear my reading glasses all day because I don't want people to see my raccoon eyes. It's ridiculous. But exactly. I'm actually going to clean them right now. But it's, this is the most amazing experience that you can only hope for or wish for, what we're having happen right now. It's unbelievable.
Do you know what, though, Scott? With all this, the amount of hours we're putting in, you and me and everybody else that's involved, all the patriots, the peace that I'm feeling inside is like nothing I've ever felt before.
It is. It's a serendipity that, you think about life. You think about having great things going on in your world. You have your family, you have your kids, great things going on. Hopefully you have control of everything outside of that. So you think about where you are. You're on a beach, you're at a picnic, and just having those moments where this is just what an amazing day or an afternoon it was. Right now, every day is like that. And I feel bad for the people that chose not to look at what we're seeing for the last 3 years and take this ride, because it's been the most amazing experience anybody could have had, to watch the dismantling of this global power structure. And being in the octagon with Satan himself and watching him get his ass kicked every round. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
It's beautiful.
So a couple things I wanted to ask you today.
Yeah.
I got some information from, was it Mike Adams? By the way, I got to introduce you to Mike Adams. He's got these spec ops guys that he's connected to. And he told me yesterday, the day before, he said his guys are telling him they're now prepped for precision extraction ops in dem cities for Antifa and BLM leadership.
Yep.
And then we've seen tonight, I got a call from close friend of mine, he's talking to an NSA brigadier general and then two other generals that are military intel. He's connected with them on a back end project to pump out the good media that the world needs, big studio project. So he just reached out, and now we got to make sure we get it all in tonight, because he said they told him that it looks like the EBS could go down tonight, 12 o'clock, midnight Eastern time, 9 Pacific. And the other two things that he said was that they said, as you see things going down, platforms going down, they said, make sure you have Signal, you have Clout Hub, and you have Telegram.
Yep.
And that's where it stopped right there. I'm like, okay, we have those, and we're ready to go. But what are you hearing out there about tonight?
I've heard exactly that. Because I'd heard beforehand, and they said you need to keep this quiet. It's going to all kick off on Wednesday, and then yesterday, which is your today, on Monday, I got a phone call very early in the morning. Charlie, it started. Trump has taken off 200 major companies off the stock exchange at the Chinese, and so he's declared digital war on them immediately. And of course, with the Chinese, the minute you take away their money, they're in trouble, because that's all they have when it comes to control. It's all about the money. So the minute he'd taken the big companies like Huawei and Alibaba and all the Chinese corporation companies off the stock exchange, the panic set in. And of course, the mainstream media have tried to hide that away from everybody. And I've even spoken to somebody on the stock exchange, and they go, "No, I've heard nothing about it. I've heard nothing about it." I said, "Well, let me assure you, the source of information that I've got confirms exactly that." And he said, "Well, they're still showing, but I can't trade them." I said, "There you go."
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things that are being done. So that was yesterday for me, into today, the end of your day, and then of course through the course of the day yesterday, then I've woken up to this morning to the emergency order that's been signed by him for the District of Columbia, Washington, which that for me was music to my ears to wake up to that this morning, because he's got total control now over Washington, which he has had anyway. But from an outsider's point of view, having that executive order in place means that Nancy Pelosi's now checkmate. Well, we've known that for a long time. It's for me, it's fun because of the fact that I've known a lot of these people have been arrested some time back, but I was never allowed to talk about it. And I just wondered how it was going to play out and how they were going to expose it. Now I'm starting to see it being exposed. I'm sitting there with a big smile on my face and going, yep. I can see that one coming. I see that one coming. And this is all, I've said it probably 10, 15 times. This is all pantomime at the moment. It's all the hard work has been done behind the scenes. Donald Trump is 100% in control, not just of America, of the world right now. And he's in a position where at this moment in time, he still has all his aces in his hand. He hasn't used one of them yet. And he's got total control. And what's happened in Italy, where this was a game changer, because if you try and take down the president of the United States of America and you're Russia or China, so be it. But when it finds out it's a member of NATO, and Italy have turned around to him and said, look, yes, it's our satellite, but it's leased to the Vatican, and if you need our help, we're they sung like a canary, and they've basically said to Trump, "We'll help you with everything. Please don't hang us as well." Wow. They've come out there and they've become the biggest, typical Italians, the biggest grass in the world. I mean, the minute they're in a corner, they'll tell you everything. And of course, he's got them by the short and curlies. And they've sung like a canary with everything they know about the Vatican. So yes, look, I knew they took the Vatican out in April of this year, March or April of last year, sorry, and they emptied it. And then suddenly when they did the trace, they were like, how the hell, well, they haven't made public yet, which is very, very interesting. They said that the Vatican, so now they've said the Vatican paid Dominion. They've got everything. They watched it live. They've recorded everything. They've got witnesses, everything. They saw the change of the votes, everything. The question that they didn't know was, how did the Vatican get this money? Because they've emptied the Vatican and they've seized their assets,
Good
and yet
question.
they still capable. Well, they found that out as well. The money came in from the CCP. So the CCP have been funding the Vatican. And you go, well, why the hell would they be doing that? And to me, it's fairly simple. You've got two satanic groups that have become buddies.
Yeah, and that's how they hide. I mean, I've
Yep.
talked about this Khazarian mafia for the
Yeah.
better part 8 or 9 months, and you can put as they've infiltrated, killed, identity theft. You take it from every country, every bank, every monarchy around the world. Now it just doesn't have a skin color, it doesn't have an ethnicity. They just infiltrate, and people think, okay, it could have been Soviet Union, Soviet Russia, it could have been CCP, it could have been fascism, Nazism, could be all the monarchies. It's the Khazarian mafia that takes on different colors and flavors. It just happens to be that they're using the Chinese, the scumbags in China, like the scumbags we have here in DC. They're all the same people. And it's amazing how they can move this money around, where the Vatican probably could have funded a lot of that on their own, right? So
Yeah.
even though it gets taken, they've got it elsewhere, and they're all in the club. I mean, people don't understand that club is global. It's one, if you take all the countries on the planet, pull them together into one big country, it's like all the states of the US.
Yeah.
The criminals that are all working together, doesn't matter if they're in DC or California or Arkansas. They want that whole playground for themselves. They don't care what part of the world they live in. They're working together to subvert the entire, geopolitical or geological area. They don't care. It's just people are going to have a hard time getting their head around how sinister and how deeply penetrated this network is in every single government and institution on the planet. It's going to be staggering when they unravel this thing.
It is, but the most beautiful thing that you just alluded to, they don't care what state or whatever it is, that they're all part of the same group. But they've come up against a group of patriots who don't give a toss for whether you're a Muslim or a Christian. They don't give a toss if you're black or white. They don't give a toss if you're man or woman. The group of patriots I'm involved with, every single one of them is different, but they all come together, and that scares the shit out of this mafia, because there is no division between us. We're all on the same page. It's got nothing to do with color, nothing to do with race, nothing to do with sexuality or religion or faith or anything like that. Everybody has come together against evil, and it's good against evil. End of story. There isn't, and
Period.
that's what they hate, because they need to divide good to give themselves the edge. They've lost that edge.
Yeah, and you mentioned these people always cave. They're cowards. They're always
Yeah.
chicken shit cowards. Once, they if they're cowards, if they weren't, they wouldn't have to set up legal or constitutional structures or banking laws or anything to cover their tracks. They never operate out in the open. They have to do everything behind their backs. Why? Because if they play in an even playing field and they deal with like conscious human beings, like not Satanists, but God's side of the table, they're
Yeah.
afraid. And we've been
Yeah.
trying to wake these people up to their power for the entire year. If you understand that, you look at these, that's why I started calling these people names all year long on my programs, call them scumbags, bastards, whatever. And people are shocked by it. But now I hear people, we got t-shirt now, get the scumbags, the Patriot Street Fighter line, because people are now realizing that, you know what? They are scumbags, and they're not so powerful that they can't be defined in a way that humiliates or belittles them, because they built their entire global structure on doing that to humanity.
Yeah.
But this is going to be glorious, because once these people, just like Haspel, once you get them, what do? They start crying. They beg for their life. They throw their buddies under the bus. They run like
Correct.
rats. And we're finally going to get to see this with our own eyes for the first time ever.
It'll be very, very interesting to see what he's about to do is take the media on, mainstream media, and see who throws who under the bus, because you
That's
can bet your life. And I've been watching Fox flip flop one way, then the other, and they're as slippery and slimy as any of them. They pretended they were Trump's friend. They pretended they weren't, and it's just like, your day's coming. Fox, you had your chance to stand up for the truth, and you didn't do it.
mm-hmm. Yeah, these people are so loyal to each other. If they were in the same family and it was mother and son or whatever, the son would take a knife and stab mom in the liver to save himself. This is the
Yeah.
quality of character of these people. And I'm not being facetious. That's the reality of it.
and there's not a journalistic and there's not an ounce of journalistic integrity there, because had they have done what they claimed they trained to do, I'm not a journalist, but I know far more than they do, and they haven't done any research at all on somebody like Biden. And it takes you 2 minutes to work out he's one of the most evil men on the planet. I mean, this guy sacrificed his first wife in a road accident that was carefully planned so that he could get himself up the ladder within the Freemasons. And then he sacrificed Hunter's wife and baby to get up to the next level. And that took me a few hours to find that out. Then you find his connections with the Chinese, and his corruption levels are off the scale. And yet nothing, these journalists who claim that that's their profession are nothing more than prostitutes.
Yeah, they're probably the worst of the lot because
Yep.
they knew and they saw and they had evidence of what was happening to humanity.
Mhm.
Not only did not reveal it, they did everything to cover it up. I don't know who's worse, them or the journalist machine.
Yep. Sure.
I don't know, but it is us now. I'll tell you what's going to be great. And I described Trump's hand. You said Trump's got the ace in the deck. I'm like, he's got the whole deck, right?
It's got
He's
the
got
whole
the Trump card. Is every card in that deck is a Trump card. So
correct.
I was thinking of this the other day. Trump reminds me of that scene in Rocky or Rambo 2, when he's back in Vietnam, right? He's in the jungle, Russians are chasing him and they're looking for him. Guerrilla warfare, he's taking him out. And there's that one Russian soldiers walking in front of a muddy wall, a hill. And you're thinking he's looking around, he feels something. And behind him, you see in this mud wall, these two eyes open up, right? And right there is Rambo inside the wall covered with mud. You couldn't see him until he opened his eyes. That's Trump. That's where Trump is right now.
Yeah.
And I think this strike, I'm interested to hear what you know about this strike, because my belief is with the weapons that they have acquired from the alliance players in the secret space programs, which obviously they've put them under the Space Force. That's an interesting soft disclosure. Hey, we got a Space Force. Look at these weapons. Oh, you've had them for a long time. So now you're going to put them, now that they have control of them. I can't even imagine the weapons they're going to use to neutralize the danger of this threat with China and anybody else involved. We know, I heard you today or from last night talking about the rods of God. That's got to be a fun weapon to watch and deploy. But what else are you hearing out there in the arsenal weapons they're using?
No, you're absolutely bang on the money. But when you consider where we've come from and the darkness that we're moving out of, all of the control of the darkness has always been underground.
Mm.
The new enlightenment that we're coming into, the control is from the skies, from space, and that in itself, all of their defense is underground. I've been hearing an awful lot about what's going to happen over the next few days and weeks with regard to the taking down of the power of China, with regard to, because most people have been told to watch the water, and we've all understood that to be the dams in China, to remove not just the clinic, the laboratory in Wuhan, but also in that area, there's all the control for BTC, all the servers are there. But it turns out there's a nuclear dump under there, but everything that we're listening to is underground.
Mm-hmm.
The financial system, the Federal Reserve, all the control was underground. We're now coming into a world where everything is controlled from space. And that's something that is alien to the deep state, the cabal, and the old system. So it's literally, they're down here thinking, shit, they've got nothing up there. Everything that's up there is controlled by God, in a nutshell, and everything down there is controlled by Satan.
Mm-hmm.
And he's cowering away right now because he realizes his days are numbered. Somebody said to me yesterday, which was very, very interesting. He said, I wouldn't even bother calling him Satan or the devil. It's Lucifer. It's worse than Satan. It's Luciferian. It's Lucifer, and even that in itself, we're coming away from that into the world of light, which is controlled from space. And all my life, I thought that was heaven, and it is. It is, but space, heaven controls space, and everything that's up there, it's very, very interesting how the whole dynamic has moved from what's of underground, the tunnels, the dumbs, the control of the world was always underground. The tunnels under the Vatican, the tunnels under Buckingham Palace, the tunnels under every one of these places is always underground. And now, because we're moving from darkness into light, we're moving into a side where the control of it is from space. And the what they have in space and the control they have right now um, will be absolutely shaking the deep state and the cabal to their feet, because they don't have anything to compete, because they control the good, the enlightenment control what's in space 100%, not 99.9%. They completely control it. All of the control of the deep state, the cabal, is underground. So they'll be scurrying away in their little tunnels, and as they all get down there, they'll be blown up and destroyed.
Now
So
that'll be the future of warfare. You know, as we're pulling back all the offensive militaries worldwide, and you think, what are we going to do? These militaries, like, do we just get rid of them? No, we got time in the future. These subterranean fighters are going to be digging these people out, taking them out. They're not going to be bringing them out and saying, hey, we got room for you up here to put you in a place. They're just going to be eliminating them. But I
yeah,
think what's going to be twofold for humanity is to learn about what has been operating off planet for a long time, the incredible, powerful technologies that have been there all this time that could have been saving humanity. And it wasn't until, you know, the good guys got control of all that. And then to also come to understand, be able to put a real face on what you call Lucifer, this extra dimensional being that
hmm
things that our minds don't understand, you know, from the 300 years of suppression of spiritual evolution, we can't get, it's going to be hard getting our heads around it. But once we get beyond that place of shock and rectification of our psychology and our soul, and now you can say, you know, I really do believe in Satan or Lucifer. This is really a being, an extra dimensional being that, you know, does he live inside the earth, in hell, or whatever? You know, of course, his minions are inside the planet, and that probably operates there for deep cover. But those two things are going to be the hardest things for humanity to get over, to know that we have capabilities beyond comprehension that'll turn our planet into something that, I mean, you can talk about Star Trek, Star Wars, interstellar travel, expansion of the universe into other planets. Like, you know, 50 years from now, we'll be going to other planets probably sooner, like you travel a state to go visit your family.
hmm
All these things are in our realm. Actually, I have an interview next week with Dr. Michael Sallow. And if
yeah,
you have ever listened to his work, fascinating work, and some of the other guys from those programs, that's where I turned a corner. And the
mm
things that I've learned from going down that rabbit hole were what took me from becoming, I don't know if I'd call it an agnostic, but probably 20 years ago. There's too many bullet holes in the Bible. The Luciferians did what they did, stripped out everything that would empower us. And then, you know, I went down a realm of a long study, you know, quantum physics, metaphysics, epistemology, quantum mechanics, philosophies. There's got to be a solution. This doesn't make sense. There's something's not right here. And
mm
learning about what truly exists in the realm of creation, and learning about intelligence, you know, intelligent beings, far more intelligent than we are, that have an interest in our spiritual ascension, that brought me right back home to God. Because if
mm
there is an unbelievably advanced races that have an interest in our ascension because their purpose is their ascension toward our source, our creator, I'm like, well, that settles it. There's a God. It's
mm
real. Agnosticism went away for me.
mm.
And to me, it's the most exciting thing that I ever had expanded on in my world. But I think humanity coming to learn these things, it's going to be the wild west of discovery.
Being agnostic is like being a little child that's playing hide and seek and can't find what they're looking for. So they go, it doesn't exist, doesn't exist. And then suddenly when you do find it, you go, yay. And that's that. And we sometimes need to get back to that simplistic view that the reason we don't see it is because we haven't, maybe we've looked in the wrong place. And then when you start to find things, this journey for me, I've found things that I never dreamt I'd find, I'll be honest. I've been looking in places and finding stuff that was absolutely unbelievable. I've had the privilege and honor to talk to many people, including yourself. And what you do is you bring all this information together, and that every single person is a little piece of that puzzle that when it comes together just provides such clarity, that I couldn't believe this journey. If you told me this 2, 3 years ago, I'd have gone, yeah, whatever. But now I'm living the reality, and it's what an amazing journey. And every single person brings another little piece, and you go, that makes sense. And the wonderful thing with the truth is the truth makes sense. Whereas what we've been told by the mainstream media and the governments doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and when it hits you, I'm trying to think. There was an example I used the other night for that same thing. It was like the first time, having come from a political world and having an interest in public policy. I read Atlas Shrugged late in my life. I think I was in my maybe early 40s, and I read Atlas Shrugged. And I remember when I read this, if you understand the laws of man, laws of nature, and you work in concert with that, you can fashion a world that is a good thing and gets the best from humanity. And I remember reading through that. I read it like 4 times back to back, but I'm like, this is exactly what I've always known, but I couldn't quite articulate it. It was an amazing discovery. It's like, how could we not think like this automatically? The only problem I had with that was she was an atheist. But here was an
Yeah.
interesting thing. A very good friend of mine, Dr. Robert Rome, he's a behavioral scientist, and he actually is a Southern Baptist minister. And I remember calling him. I got training from his institute, and I called him. I said, I got a problem with this Ayn Rand's philosophy. I'm basically a disciple of all of her work. He said, what's the problem? I said, well, she's an atheist. He said, that shouldn't matter. I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, Scott, all truth comes from God. Doesn't matter who says it. And I
Yeah.
thought, what a prophetic statement that was.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter
Yeah.
who says it.
Yeah.
So, and I liked what you said earlier. We're all a piece.
Mhm.
Anybody could bring a piece to this puzzle of understanding the human experience. And I think that's what we see in the future, that, the people that are unnoticeable, out there in the world, that you don't even notice them, you step over them. They just don't fit in a certain socioeconomic framework of what this cabal is built for us to be miserable in. I'm looking forward to seeing that go away. That's going to be the greatest thing. In fact, I got a story for you. I was at the 7-Eleven yesterday morning, and I told this last night. And so I'm going in, and I'm that guy that 50 people walk past a homeless person, they won't say a word, but I come by, they're going to ask me for money. Like, they're going
Yeah.
to put me on the spot all the time, right?
Yeah.
So this guy says something. He's got a bunch of bags and backpack and blankets, and he was dressed, I would say, reasonably well for the situation. So he asked me, same thing. You have some change? And I said, couldn't hear him. Come on over. What do you want? He said, you have some change? I said, you want some food? He goes, yeah. And I said, come on in. So I went in the store, bought him some pizza, and said, go get a drink, whatever you want. I don't care if you got a beer, get what you want. And
Mhm.
I made him go get some bags. He noticed some bags of candy. And he's probably 30 years old. So bought him some food and talked to him. And he's like, nah, it's okay. It's good. I said, no, grab him. Look, I missed your Christmas present. Get whatever you want. So he did. We go outside, and I always talk to these people. I said, so tell me, how'd you end up here? And he starts to talk to me and tell me right out of the gate, well, yeah, it's kind of a bad situation. I was born, my mother was a prostitute, and she was 19 when she had me. And my dad is a pimp. And he talked about how she took a shotgun blast to the face, like when he was like, I don't know, 8 months old. And he went in the foster system. And I know what that's about, and so do you. And as soon as somebody tells me that, they have my attention, because
Yeah.
I've had experience with people that gone through that absolute hell as a child on up. So as I'm talking to this guy, he's bright, he's very articulate. I'm like, this guy doesn't belong here. And I said, so how did you, end up here? And he talked about, I figured it might be drugs. And he talked about that. And I said, something? I said, your time is in this life is about up. And I wanted to just float these ideas to him. He goes, he didn't hear it, but I pushed that issue a little bit. And I said, something? I said, I hope you understand what you have done in your world. And he looked at me and he goes, why? I said, everything you just told me about your whole life, I said, it is a miracle that you're standing here and you can communicate on this level. I said, you're a massive success. I said, the only difference between you and that guy right there in that high rise, I'm downtown Dallas, in that high rise, there's only one difference. You got a shitty hand that came out of that deck, and that guy got 4 aces right out of the gate. And I'm telling you, if it was reversed, that guy likely might be here and you'd be there. So I just found it an incredible experience with this guy. He pulled out his phone. He said, here's what I did. And he showed me some like video work that he's done. And he gave me his information. I said, tell you what, he said, give me your YouTube channel. So he gave it to me and I took a picture. He had it written on a piece of paper. So I walk away and I thought, this doesn't make sense. This guy being on the street. He said he hasn't always been on the street. He's obviously done some things prior to being back on the street, but so when we talked about this on the live stream, I said, I'm going to put this, his name is King Corey Jordan. That's what he goes by on YouTube, King Corey Jordan. And there's a song he put up there called Once Upon a Time or something. So I told the folks, I'm going to put this in the description when we're done with this live stream. Give this guy a look. And so, of course, people did. A whole bunch of people saw a beautiful, human being that had some great art. And I thought, where does this thing lead? My whole intention was to have people reach out to this guy and say, you know what, that's pretty amazing talent. That's that's incredible. Why? Because this guy needs to know the truth of who he is. And I thought, if one person stumbles along, there's a lot of people went on there because I went on that chat afterwards and I saw down through there and they were all encouraging this guy, Corey, we got you. You're part of our family now. Hang out with us, whatever, and tell him how great his music was. And I thought, what if the whole world became like that? Everywhere you went, every day, that somebody had your back, a total stranger. And I think once we get over this hurdle of what's coming, this unbelievable event that we're going to get to watch happen, like the part I'm looking for is the ass beating the cabal's going to take in their final breath. That's what I'm pumped up about. But once that's done, seeing this leap for everybody, say, you know what, we really are going to have a world of abundance like this. Are you kidding me? And then to offload everything that you think about that weighs you down to try to survive and think, what would I do every day?
Yeah, exactly. If you're kind enough to share that link with me, I'll put it in the description below so that we can bring attention to these people. Because every single soul in this world is valuable. We can't overlook these individuals at all. It's our duty to go and find these people and to bring them to God, for the want of a better word. And God will look after them. And through the fact that they've been dealt a shit hand, there's the practical side of getting a roof over their head and getting them warm and getting them fed. That we can that's all stuff that we can help with. Because we've got a team of patriots around the world that are incredibly caring, incredibly considerate, and completely different to the people that the world is used to. Most of the world is so used to people to rob them, to try and kill them, to spit on them, to disrespect them. But now we're part of a movement of people who care for humankind. And that's exactly what this is all about. Caring for other people. Doesn't matter of your color, doesn't matter of your religion. And the minute we come together as we already are like that, evil will be cowering away, as you rightly said, and it will destroy them because they've tried to split us up so they could got some power. When we come together, they have no power.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see that happening now. I know you see it every day. I think you're down to from 15 or 20 of these a day down to 4 now. You're kind of taking a little bit of vacation, aren't you? and you still probably feel like you're in the Marines.
Oh God! But do you know what, Scott? I'm loving it because I'm getting to talk to people, and it's when when you get a puzzle as a child that's got too many pieces and it's too big, and you just need a bit of help. And every Zoom conversation is somebody helping me find the right pieces for the puzzle, and it's beautiful. It makes my job easier having the support of everybody out there to try and help me complete the puzzle.
Seeing that was a new experience for me when all this kind of blew up. And in fact, when Lynn Wood did what he did, it just poured like a massive amount of gas on a fire. And all these people They reach out to you and they want to help. They want to bring skills from
Hmm.
Microsoft IT careers, and you got military brass guys reaching out. Hey, just whatever it is, and it's truly overwhelming. But I had a couple guys that have been doing. In fact, everybody, two girls. Leanne and Annette are working on all the email stuff, and got Ron and Mitchell. They built the website, all this stuff. In fact, I was telling this guy one day, he's texting me all the time, and he keeps thanking me so much for being part of this Patriot Street Fighter revolution. And so much to the point, I said, I don't understand, Mitchell, why you keep thanking me for working for free. And before I could even complete the sentence, he said, Scott, I'm not working for free. I'm working for freedom.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah,
thought, what a powerful remark that was.
yeah,
And to
totally.
see people ante up, their time to the bar and say, I want in. I want to give, and I want to give my time away, and people will, they'll help fund this mission. It's, to me, it's overwhelming. I have never been on the receiving end of it. Small business startups for me has been nothing but guerrilla warfare my entire career in business.
Hmm.
Now people just want to help on all levels every day. There's new people coming in. This is what I do. Resumes, they're sending resumes because they want to help that much. When
Yeah.
we have a lot more people besides you and myself and this army out there, and there's like 10,000 fold,
Hmm.
it's going to be that everywhere. And I can't, that's to me is the most, I cannot wait until we start this rescue mission for humanity.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to think about technologies. They're all being used, classified for national security reasons, to build into weapons, to murder humanity. Now, all of a sudden, everything is, guess what we can do with this? How
Hmm.
many people can we now save with this technology? How many limbs, all these soldiers that have been, I've seen a couple recently in horrific conditions, missing limbs, to tell them, you know, you're going to get that body back, to be able to inform them, you're going to be able to have your old body back, limbs and all. Now they're going to look at you like you're crazy, but planting a seed of hope. I wonder if that guy was like a lunatic or crazy in Walmart that just said these things to me. Hey, Dad, what if, what if, give a guy like that with one leg gone, holy, two, one arm at the shoulder, one at the elbow. You can tell he's with his dad in Walmart. And I'm watching him walk away and I'm just
Hmm.
heartbroken. So to me, that's going to be the things that are going to repair the psychological wounds of the human heart when we get access to these things that exist and put them in motion.
You've just nailed it there with that last statement there. Because when we look at the outside of losing a limb, we can see it. What we don't see is the PSD inside, the post-traumatic stress inside these people, and the fact that we're moving into a world where the med beds will be able to manage that, for the want of a better word, the stuff that we can't see, the damage, the emotional damage inside. I've met so many people in my life who've fought in wars and seen their comrades die, and they can cope with it until they have a drink. The minute they have a drink, it all comes back flooding to them. Their emotions go all over the place. But to be able to manage that, the stuff that we can't see that goes on inside, as well, the visual side, where you've lost an arm, you've lost a leg, that's going to be amazing. But it's the stuff that we can't see, the suffering of these people inside that have lost friends, comrades, and some of the stories they've never ever told in public,
Mm.
because the pain is too great. That's where, it'll be an amazing time for these people to get rid of that burden they've been carrying. It might have gone back to the Falklands War. It might have gone back to Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, you name it, Somalia. There's been many, many wars where these men and women have gone fighting for their country and come back to little or no support from the previous administrations. Now, the current administration is putting in place, you know, the best of everything for them, and being completely overlooked by mainstream media, completely abused. I mean, you could, how on, this is something that I couldn't understand. How can any American, doesn't, I don't care which side you're on, how can any American think it's right for for mainstream media and social media to block the president of the United States of America making a speech. How can anybody see that as right? I don't care which side you're on. So if they can do it to Trump, and your guy ever got in, let's say he did, which he won't, but let's say he did, you'd find it acceptable that they could, that the mainstream media had enough power to just to turn them off. Um, I can't understand how any American would ever accept that.
It's startling, my friend. I mean, I'm here, and it
Yeah.
is. I've watched through those 8 years of Obama, and just watching this orchestration while people are asleep. I remember in 2012, I read the National Defense Authorization Act, and of course, Obama is the enemy of the Republicans, quote unquote. And I read this act. The Republicans control the House, they control the Senate. And in the National Defense Authorization Act, they're giving Obama a kill switch on the internet. They're giving him in a national emergency, control the food supply and control of the power grid. That was passed in the House, authored, or if it wasn't authored by the Republicans, the Dems did it and they went on and signed it. The Republican Senate signed it. Obama signs it into law. And I'm like, they're all in on it. Every
Mm-hmm.
one of them are in on it. And I've been talking about that for 8 years, trying to wake people up. Do you understand what this means? So
Mm-hmm.
they say he's the evil enemy, which he is. Then what did that make these people? And to see that it has gotten to this point. Now, obviously, there's certainly a massive pendulum swing back like a wrecking ball. But the fact that we allowed this to go, look, I had a wonderful friend of mine, and I'd probably say he saved my life when I come out of that catastrophic, paralyzing, destructive crash, and I had nowhere to land, and I had a place to live for 3.5 years, and 4 years, I get whatever it was, but I had a place to be and go to war and overcome all this damage and this paralysis, but we are two different ends of the spectrum. And I just listened to this assault on my president for a couple of years, and I finally had to just say, last night, that's it. It's enough. Like, this is insanity. How do you gonna, what I do, where I stand. I'm done with you. Listen to you. It was hard to say this, but you get to a point, you got to draw the line in the sand. I'm not going to listen to you assault my president. And I just went off. I said, you're going to be ashamed when you find out on the other side what this man just saved the world from, saved the country, you, the children. Said, you have no clue what's coming in the next 10 days. You need to wake up and prepare, and you're going to be ashamed of yourself. And I don't know if that actually made a difference. I still love this person as much as anybody on the planet. But here's this wonderful, incredible human being that has been affected this much by mainstream media, even though it's destroyed his industry. He's in his 70s, destroyed his industry, shipped it all to China. Trump's bringing it back, but he just hates this selfish man who's in a presidency for just himself. And I look at this and I'm thinking, how's this possible when you see the evidence? But I guess, you sit in front of the idiot box long enough and you wire those neural networks that they can't be changed without, I don't even, a lobotomy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's going to be tough for people to get out. Really, that's the only thing that would save them. um it's those things that make you go and that just never stops. It just keeps going. It's startling to me. It really is.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And it's about when you talk about the idiot box, and I was taking Justin to school the other day and picking him up, and I was talking to one of the fathers there outside. He said, "You must feel gutted that Biden's got into power." I said, "I feel gutted that you believe that bullshit." And he said, "Well, what do you mean? What do you mean?" I said, "Well, you're obviously one of these very, very sad people that just sits in front of the box and doesn't do any proper research at all and believes everything he's told." He said, "Well, what do you mean? What do you mean?" I said, "Well, have you not done any research? You just believe what they've said on the television." I said, "Who's the president of the United States of America today? Who is it?" He said, "Well, nobody." I said, "Well, who?" I believe that Donald Trump is still the president of the United States at this moment in time, because he's been signing executive orders. He's been doing this and that. Um, and they're, it's happening there. I don't see Biden doing anything at the moment. So how can you say that? And he said, well, explain. I said, well, reason that I'm saying that is just because I've done research away from the television. My television hasn't been on since February of last year. So I don't believe the bullshit. I've just done my own research. And as far as I'm aware, Donald Trump is still the president. As far as I'm aware, there's a zero chance of Biden ever becoming president. And when I say zero, that was confirmed last night by Juan Savin, who said that come the 20th, neither Donald Trump or Biden will be inaugurated. But that makes a lot of sense because for anybody who's done any research, the corporation of the United States was dissolved in June 2019, which made the whole election a complete farce because you can't elect a president to an illegal a corporation that doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. But that the penny will drop with people and go, oh, so what does exist? Well, why don't you start doing some research into what's happening? Because the way that I see this going is we'll go away from the Republican and Democratic parties to an Asara party where we'll have a new leader. And I doubt very much if he'll call himself the president because the president is part of the old system. Well, what are they going to call him? I said, I don't know. I said, but based on the fact that we understand that he's the master of five-dimensional chess, the first piece you want to take out is the Queen. Well, I think that was done a couple of years ago, if I'm right. And I think the winner is always the king, is it not? Mm. So maybe you'll have a king rather than the president. They're like, well, how do you work that one out? I said, well, I've just told you. I said, but if you do some research, it's very much now out with the old and in with the new. And what the title is, I don't know, but I can assure you one thing. The titles won't be the same as the old one. I can assure you of that. And also, he made a statement some time ago saying that he would be the last president of the United States. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't a mistake. So, look, we're in a wonderful time. And for you and I, we're just doing a little digging there, trying to find out the truth. And we're finding out lots of wonderful things.
It's like having the keys to the candy store and you haven't eaten all day long. It's what it is every day. So we're going to talk about, so I'm going to throw this at you, get your thoughts on this. So we know the U.S. corporation is basically dead. Okay. We are restoring the republic, so to speak. So a friend of mine who's talking to these generals, and I think I said this to you the last time, that they're not inside, the back channel intel that's less than 10 people, but there's 77 alliance generals. So there's a couple of these guys, and they're of course he's connected them for reasons beyond when, the Nassar funds move. But we were talking about this, and after we had a discussion about a number of things, I said, he said, who do you think the vice president is going to be? And I have the mystery man still in my mind. We all do. So I threw that out there, and he said, now it's going to be General Flynn. And I said, Trump's not going to, they said he was the last president. So this election would make him now the leader of the new republic, the first president of the republic. And he said, no, it isn't going to be Trump. And I said, who is it? And he said it. He told me. So he said, but does that mean Trump is not going to maintain power? No, it's going to take another term to then be restructuring back to the corp. So, or back to the republic. So I said to him, and I'll put this out there because we're going to find out one way or another, because he told me this in the past. Mm-hmm. He said, the question comes, is Junior still with us? Mm-hmm. And he said, this was his answer. And we had this discussion months ago. I said, is he still alive? Is JFK Jr. alive? He said what the generals told him, absolutely, unequivocally, irrefutably, and I forget the fourth word, yes. Yep. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that to me, and I've said this before, if you read the intelligence, we know two things are true. You're, like you said, dead on. I've been telling people Biden will never see the White House. I don't care if it's inauguration day and the pedophile traitor John Roberts, Supreme Court Justice, is swearing Biden in up there in the Capitol platform. If it gets that far, you're going to see a Marine Expeditionary Unit in the 10th Mountain Division drop right into the Capitol around him, surround everybody, and drag him out. I'm not going to be stunned or scared like, oh my God, he's really taking power. I'll be leaning into the TV watching. This is going to be totally epic. Mm-hmm. But biblical. But when they told us that those two things, no POS, no piece of shit Satanist will ever enter the White House again, occupy it. And the other thing they said, two other things, the chaos is coming. We know that for a period, but the world will be united. What's the one thing on earth that would unite the entire planet in 24 hours?
Junior.
Junior.
But he's no longer Junior.
Yeah, exactly. It's an affable name because we still see him as a little kid, but
well, it's interesting because later on today I've got another interview with Sava, who's the lady that has predicted all kinds of things that everyone thought she was mad.
She's amazing. I've listened to her. I said her on your show. She's truly amazing.
Well, she's the one that predicted that Pence would not be the vice president. But by the time of, and she was absolutely spot on, right? Absolutely. And because I'd heard it would either be General Flynn as the vice president or Mike Pompeo. And I thought either of those is great. And she's gone, no, it's not going to be either. It's going to be Junior.
Really?
Yeah. And I've got her back on again today, so I'm going to ask her that question again.
That'll be very interesting. That to me is the kill shot on the cabal, on the minions, all Satan's kids running around trying to flip out. I think it just stops. You think about all the Democrats, the believers in this country, in the United States, all the Democrats, it's still, they're party driven, not candidate driven. Both parties are that way, right?
Yeah.
I can just see it. They'll drop to their knees wherever they are in the world, out in the street. If they find out, they see a TV, whatever it is, they're going to drop to their knees in tears. And they're truly going to be like, this is like 0.5 Christ dropping his feet on the planet.
Yep, 100%. Couldn't agree more.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't agree more. And it'll be for you and I, we'll be able to breathe again.
Yeah, no kidding. I want to sleep, my friend.
Exactly.
I want to sleep, my friend. Well, we're still going to want to be up, every hour of the day, just watching everything shift and change. What's it like in Spain for you there? We don't hear much about right around you.
With regard to Spain, it's absolutely fascinating because they know they've been caught with their fingers in the till, because of the Dominion server there was the servers in Germany, and the fact that Circle were based in Barcelona, and they know that the guy, I've forgotten his name now, the prime minister or president here in Spain, they know that he was involved. There's been already huge arrests here, right. So that there's still the biggest thing with Spain is that it has the mentality from the old fascism days of Franco that you do as you're told, you don't question anything. So that's in their DNA. It's very, very hard to make them aware of what's going on because it's far easier just to do as you're told here. We'll just do as we're told. And it goes back to what I've said in a few videos recently. It's very easy to con people, but it's very hard to convince them they've been conned. It's so simple. You can con them ever so easily. And you look at them walking around the streets with their masks on a bright sunny day, and you just go, and even the stupidity. I went into one shop and I said, look, I have a certificate. And he said, no, you need to wear a mask. And if you have a problem breathing, you just need to make a hole for your mouth and a hole for your nose. This is the mentality of how stupid they are. You couldn't make it up. I mean, it's incredibly stupid.
Oh my goodness.
And I mentioned it the other day because the ones who wear it under their nose, I've always said it's like wearing a condom on your bollocks. It's sort of worthless. And the little Spanish boy at Justin's Gymnastics is in Spanish is interpreted. It's like pulling your pants up and having your willy out. And I thought that was lovely from a little 12-year-old boy.
Yeah.
It made the point.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to keep it very simple and very visual so people get it, because otherwise they just don't get it. But the amount of people who say, look, it's easier just to do as we're told. It's easier that way. And I said, well, for me, it's not. It's not easier. I've got to stand up for what's right. I'm not prepared to be bullied into this lie. I'm not prepared to have it. Well, how do you know it's a lie? I said, well, because I've done over 5,000 hours of research, and you've done none. You've sat in front of the telly, and you know something's wrong, but you just think it's easier to go with the flow. There's a lot of people out there. The only people I would have real compassion for are people who are struggling to survive financially. So they're working all the hours that God sends, so they don't have the time to do what I do and you do. So that it falls on our shoulders. It's our responsibility to do the work. But then it falls on their responsibility to listen to us when we've
Yeah.
done the work.
Right. Right.
But they don't. They go, no, we just look, just get me back to normal. I said, well, you're never going to get back to the normal that you've known. We're going to go to a different place when we come through this, and then you'll suddenly go, well, what the hell happened?
It's
So
going to be, you can imagine that adjustment today that how does that look? I mean, I don't know what they're like over there. By the way, Barcelona, I've spent some time in Barcelona. What a great city, a beautiful city. People were
stuff,
really nice. They're wonderful people when I was there.
yeah,
Um, you know, that's the thing about when you travel, you know how it is every country you go to, we all like each other.
yeah,
We all are
exactly.
fascinated that, you know, we Americans, they, you know, people want to know you're in Italy. It's like they want to buy, you know, their last half euro or whatever. They want to buy your coffee. This guy has, you know, it's the only one he's got, but he's
Yeah,
not going to let you pay for your espresso.
yeah,
And
sure.
you just meet people everywhere, and it just goes to show you, once we're all together, we love each other. It's all the idiots that are in the heads of state positions, but how do we get to where, you know, what's that going to look like? They're going to up one day and say, here's the truth, take the masks off. I mean, how does that look?
There's a number of things that will come into play um, that will make people realise that the masks are a complete waste of time. But it's yeah, I don't know exactly how they're going to do it. I had my theory about the vaccine as to how they're going to stop the rollout of that because um, and it's fairly clear that Trump as a person, as an individual, him and his mother loved the Queen of England as a person.
Hmm.
Um,
Even knowing what she was
well,
doing.
they didn't. She didn't know that. She didn't know
Okay.
what she was involved in. So Trump, his DNA, likes the lady, even though he's
Yeah.
found out that she wasn't everything she was cracked up to be. Let's put it like that. Um, Prince Philip, I believe, was died of natural causes probably in March of this year or last year, and the Queen, I think, was taken out probably the middle of the year. So I've known about that before. So how are they going to break it to the public? Well, they've always had this CGI and whatever it is going on,
Hmm.
and I thought to myself the other day because it suddenly came in the news that both him and her had the vaccination. I thought, bingo, here we go. You imagine if the vaccination killed them both. I tell you what, that would stop that story on a
Yep.
sixpence. We need to investigate the vaccine.
Yep. Wow.
So that's my thought. It's a Charlie thought. It's my thought process, and I thought that would be the easiest way in the world to stop people taking the vaccine. To go, hang on, it's just killed the Queen and Prince Philip, and it would give them a nice way out, which would leave a legacy, which maybe they've been allowed to do if they've cooperated with Trump. Because I know that with Trump, the way that he works is very, very simple. If you're cooperative, he will allow you to leave a legacy, and if you're not cooperative, then there will be no legacy.
Hmm.
It's about establishing the truth one way or another, and he's a businessman.
Yeah, and you know, I think down in as far as that legacy is not going to be multi-generational. These things are going to come out sooner or later.
Of course, they will.
You know, and in fact, I think we all know that. I think the only thing that works for humanity and our ascension is the truth
Yeah,
of all these things, because there's got to be something that shocks us enough to our core
hmm,
to make a leap. And it's kind of, I think we saw this in the Intel drops, that the punishment is going to be so definitive that nobody will ever try this ever again in all existence. So I think we have got to sometime, maybe it's a generation later, like we knew how many, maybe 2 generations after JFK's assassination, that, oh no, this is bullshit. I mean, I was down the street here, friend of mine, we were going through the JFK museum. I'd been
yeah,
there years ago, but he wanted to see it, and I'm in there for 20 minutes. I said, I'll tell you what, take your time, no hurry. I'm going outside. I can't swallow this bullshit in here that they, you know, this is all a lie, just so you know. I don't want to watch any of this crap. So there, you know, we know that now. That probably took 2 generations to come to the conclusion that's all BS.
hmm,
So that's why I think this, yeah, their legacy is going to be saved as long as they're alive, or maybe their kids are alive. But beyond that, it's not going to stay there.
No.
It's not, and I don't want it to. I don't want it to. We need to know the truth of what happened to this earth and what these kind of people really like. I mean, we learn now, Charlie. I learned this probably 2 years ago. You got Prescott Bush, that was he was potentially up on treason charges for organizing the bankers in the 30s, and Smedley Butler, the World War II hero, General Butler, too, thought he would be able to call 500,000 troops to overthrow the country to hand it to the bankers. And they had committee hearings in the 30s. We never heard about that in the history books. They
No.
escaped because the bankers, of course, they owned everything and owned every
Right.
politician. But here we are, 70, 80 years later, 90 years later.
Yeah.
But of course, we didn't have the internet back then either.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
No, it's amazing. We're living in a wonderful time, and just to be awake and alive and alert to what's happening is exciting. Would be an understatement. Um, on average, I've had between 2 and 5,000 messages a day, and I woke up this morning at 5 o'clock to find that I had 4,500 by 5 o'clock this morning in the first, and I went to bed at midnight. So in 5 hours, I had 4,500 messages.
mm.
I've managed to get through about 6 of them.
You're gonna have to you're gonna have to get your own. I don't know how big those servers are. That's like a million terabytes. You might need to get your own. They're gonna kick you right off the servers, my friend.
We're in the process of doing exactly that, Scott. We had our own platform to start with, but we're now looking at the server side of it, of having our own servers. We've put together a community called the Jasara Club, which has been very successful, where we put all the people that tell the truth in one place, so that we can. We've got 30 or 40 people on there now, and we've just got some great people that we. But it's interesting. I came under attack yesterday, I think it was the day before, by somebody from the dark side that was trying to have a go. And of course, they always have no name and no face, and you just go, please try and attack the truth rather than me as a person, because I don't give a shit what you think about me as a person. It's about the message, not the. And all they can do is come up with complete and utter sad bullshit, and you just go, what a shame. And I won't even give them the time of day, because they're, it's like the old fashioned bullies. If you pander down to them, they just become more of a bully. So you're better off just forgetting all about them and leaving them, and letting them drown in their own sorrow
Yeah, the misery. Well,
and their
we had
misery.
we had an attack. Yesterday? Um, I had my channel pulled off of YouTube. The Tipping Point Radio woke up. It grew by double the numbers. I was
Yeah.
kicked off for a week. I wasn't even uploading. I got a side channel to keep the operation going. So because of that, this video got a couple million views. Thanks again to Linwood. Now I'm just being facetious. I'm happy that
Yeah.
got the message out. So they took it down, the channel down. No problem. We've got another channel operational for the last 5 days, and it's blowing up. And I got another one on deck. So here's my plan now. All the people that are following our message, I'm just going to say, here's what you need to do. Okay, we're gonna stay on. That's where the war's being fought, right there. We're gonna stay on there, because here's what you're all gonna do. Y'all have YouTube accounts, right? Gmail addresses. Go get yourself an account, a YouTube video account. It's really simple. And every time I upload to my channel that you're coming to, 150,000 people, you download that video, you put it up on your channel. They want to
Yep.
take that down. They won't stop the machine. We'll recruit 100,000 people we're talking blockchain style.
Yeah.
Guerrilla warfare blockchain YouTube strategy to keep those videos up so they can't shut down whole channels. So I'm going to cover that if we stay online here the next day or two. They don't put us down and we got to sit around popcorn all day watching all this stuff unload. Fine, but we'll wait till we're up and running again.
Well, we've created a couple of chat groups on Telegram and Signal for exactly that purpose, just in case they start taking down the media, so we can still communicate with people and get the message out there. Because the one thing that will kill people is fear. And your job and my job, Scott, is to take people's fear away and tell them, do not worry right now. We're coming through this, and we'll guide you through it, because we've got an army of people out there researching the truth and finding out exactly what is going on. And you're right. You and I have access to General Flynn. We have access to Sidney Powell. We have access to Lynn Wood. We have access to all of these people. And the information we're getting from them is straight from the horse's mouth.
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, it's going to be a glorious couple months here. So I want to take only a little bit more of your time. I know what you have on deck. I want to respect that time. I'm always grateful. So what do you see happening? Let's say there's whatever the period is, a rough period for 10 days while they're conducting operations, and who knows what that looks like. But once we come to that conclusion where they're defeated, I think it's going to happen relatively quickly, at least from in terms of creating any real problems. But once we kind of settle into that, what do you think the immediate moves are? What's it going to look like? And is there a Nasara Gassara announcement? I mean, we know it's already in play. It's moving. Is there going to
I
be
think,
rectification on that level, letting people know around the world, folks, the cavalry is now on its way. Hang in there. What do you see?
I think the first sign that the Americans will see is the return to constitutional law,
Mm-hmm.
away from admiralty law. And then I think the penny will start to drop. Hang on, you've changed the law, which takes you back to God's law rather than the law of the seas,
Mm-hmm.
which is the Freemasonry controlled law. I think that will be huge. And then when people start to go, well, why has he done that? And then you realize that you're no longer a commodity or a corporation. You're a living soul. You're a human being. I think that's when the penny will start to drop. And for you and I, we'll just be massively excited when we move back to constitutional and common law, because then Nasara Jassara is coming, because of the fact that that's fundamentally all part of the same thing. So we then get into debt forgiveness. We then get into the change of the whole taxation rules and laws, because all of these laws, everything is tied to admiralty, or maritime as they call it in the UK, law. So once that's been dissolved, then the other countries will follow suit. But the minute that happens, you've taken all of their power away, because the courts no longer have power. The government no longer has power. So it doesn't matter who you vote for, they've got no power, because they're under the wrong law that no longer, number one, the corporation doesn't exist. And number two, their law is, first of all, for anybody who knows, the admiralty law and the maritime law is a law of consent. So when the people don't consent, you have no law.
So,
Whereas God's law is mandatory.
yeah, nobody has a choice. Well, what do you think? So we know that we're first the States, and then Asia, which I think now that they're pretty much under attack, that they're going to make hard, fast moves. So our Chinese family that can be restored to the Republic, they should be, or transition into that. I think it's going to happen faster. And I thought then Europe, and then they're saving Israel for last. But I have my Australian friends that are always saying, and Canadian too, are you going to help us? And I think they now come to the conclusion. What do you think the timeline looks before we can rescue the Australians and the Canadians? What do you think? What we talking
I
inside of a
think
year?
look, this comes down to do it yourself. Australia started already.
Have they? What are they
Australia,
doing?
Donald Trump is not going to come and invade your country and change it for you. Do it
Right.
yourself. Get off
Okay.
your backsides and pretend you're playing rugby against England. Then you'll learn what the fight is in you. You've already started by establishing that the Vatican sent you a lot of money to rig your elections. You've already established that fact. Hang on to the grains of sand that you've got of truth, and then it will grow. Your grain, if watered and looked after, will grow into a huge harvest. What you have right now is the first grain that you now know that the Vatican sent money into your country, which the Vatican turned around and said, oh, we don't know what that was sent for. We've no idea what it was sent for. Yes, you do know what it was sent for. It was sent for to rig your elections. So the people that you had in power weren't your choice. When the Australians wake up to that, they'll fight like dogs, I promise you. Same with the Kiwis in New Zealand. They'll do the same, because the Maori mentality, the Aborigines and the Maoris, that's where your roots are. Go back to your roots and realize you've been shafted, And when you shaft an Australian or a Kiwi, they come back and smash the 7 grannies out of you. And it's about time that that happened. It's time to fight back.
I'll tell you what, I think they'll be emboldened to hear that, because you know what happens whenever it's like the rollback of the Soviet Union in the 80s. I mean, once the wall fell, then people became emboldened. When we kill the cabal here, then other countries are going to say, hell yeah, they're doing this shit to us. Let's go. Let's round up people and let's go. You're probably right. It is probably going to be a fast move, because they're going to be getting cheerleaders. They're going to have cheerleaders. Look, that's why somebody said, after this is all over, like, what are you going to do? You're going to stop doing your show? I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
Do you know how many targets that are out there for me to go after? All these criminal politicians, not, they wipe them out here, but I'm going to be looking at all these other countries, rallying the people. Hey, you're head of state, you're parliamentarians, because we can get that information easy. You're going to let this go on? This scumbag, you're going to let this guy stay in power? And we just keep rallying the battle cry to get these people stand on their feet and fight. But when they see what happens over here, this kumbaya that comes to the United States, it's going to be just truly unbelievable.
Yeah. And the Australians and the Kiwis, they used to have so much fight in the rugby. I mean, they were warriors, and they've turned into a bunch of pussycats. Time to get your warrior status back, boys, and get that fight back that you had on the rugby pitch, and even the cricket pitch, the warriors you had there, and the same in South Africa. I remember the wonderful cricketer Darryl Steyn down in South Africa, and the fight that came from that man on the cricket pitch against Atherton. Oh man, they had a fight like you never ever know. But and that's the sort of spirit you need from South Africa, and from Jonah Lomu, from New Zealand, and Campese from Australia. These men knew how to fight. They knew how to get to break down your defenses. And this is what you need to get back to these.
Right.
Get back to that spirit, and then you'll suddenly feel yourself lift through a different level. And the fight's in you. You just got to find it. That's all, because you've turned into a bunch of pussies.
Well, hey, it's happened everywhere here too. I tell everybody, look, you need to stand up, armor up, battle up, prepare to kick ass. I don't mean physically. If it's necessary, then you better be ready. If it's mentally, if it's using your voice, it's time to stand up. Stand up, stick your chest out, arch your back, and say, that's it. This bullshit ends right here, right now. These people are weak. That's why they use laws. That's why they use money. That's why they use hitmen, because they're scared to do the job face to face themselves. By the time you figure it out, and you've rounded up 10,000, 100,000, a million people, say, you better go find a place to hide, because now we're coming to your front door. It ends fast. It ends fast.
Exactly. And if forget this transgender shit, find your pair of bollocks and stand up, because I tell you what, most of my followers have been women that have had to stand up because you men, a lot of the men out there have been turned into complete pussycats. It's time to stand up, guys, because the women have stood up. I tell you what, at the moment, the truth seekers, the men are outnumbered by probably 4 to 1.
I guarantee you. Yep.
Exactly. And these women are wanting the men to stand up and fight. And they're all worried about my reputation. I'm worried about my reputation. Fuck your reputation.
Yeah, I was going to say a little louder. I want that to be definitive. Say that again. I didn't hear that.
Just
I know
what people think about you.
Exactly.
Stand up for what's true.
Yes.
Exactly. Stand up for truth. Stand up for what's real. Sorry for my language, but it's time to wake up, stand up, and be counted. And take your mask off so you've got a voice. That's what they're trying to stop, your voice. People need to hear what you've got to say. And the time is now. The time is right now for standing up for truth and not being muffled with the voice. There's something else that interesting that I learned, Scott. You know, the word person. You're a man, I'm a man, but the word person, all these different persons and personality. The word person comes from the Latin person, mask wearer. That's where the word person comes from. They're taking the piss out of our language. They're using it against us. We're a person, we're a mask wearer. No, I'm a man. You're a man. And there's women out there. You're a woman. You're not a person. You're not a mask wearer.
You know, that's exactly how they have used language and if you study language and words, and whether it's Latin or ancient, and you learn, so, I did a prayer for the soldiers the other day in a live stream, and I said, I won't end with amen. I'm not going to do that. You can do your research, and a lot of people came and asked, and I learned this that if you break the word down and you put a in these ancient languages, a in front of a word, it means non. So a moral means non-moral. Amen means I'm a non-man. I'm not a man. That fits in with admiralty law. And you start looking at these things, how they planted these kind of words inside of our spiritual beliefs, our religious language, whatever. And we say that over and over. I'm not a man. I'm not a man. I'm not a man. Just by saying amen. We think we're honoring our creator by using a word. That's how smart and cunning these people are.
Yeah.
That's how cunning they are. So I'm going to change those things in my language. I don't say that word. Now, again, a lot of my Christian friends, I get beat up a little bit, but look, like you said, if you do your research and you learn the truth and find out where they hamstrung us, so we have never been able to unleash Christ consciousness on the planet. If that worked, why did this shit happen? Why
Yeah.
do we have millions of kids a year in these underground trafficking systems and living a horror show? If it worked, why is that happening? It's
Yeah.
happening because they stripped it away. They
Yeah.
stripped it. So,
Totally.
anyways, Charlie, I would I'd feel good if you got a little, maybe a cup of coffee and had some time to wake up over there. You probably jumped right into it out of bed based on the time I caught you.
Yeah. No, I did, but I love it. It's time for us to. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It was. I got up at 5 this morning. Went to bed at just after midnight. I think that was 12, something like that. But I can cope with 3 or 4 hours sleep. That's fine. And also because we're privileged, we
Mhm.
live in Spain. So in the DNA of the Spanish, you can have a siesta and not feel guilty about it, which is a
Yeah,
little nap. I have a little power nap for an hour in the afternoon, but in between. So
I'm gonna be
no, we're
supercharged.
fine. We're good. I'm in a good place right now, and I'm very very happy. And I'm tired, but I'm tired of dealing with people that are stupid. But
Yeah,
I'm vitalized by people that have woken up to the truth.
yeah. I'm with you, my friend. I got one last question for you here.
Yeah.
Um, do you have that AR laying across your lap by chance?
Do I have what?
An AR-15 laying across your lap right now?
I don't.
Oh, I got to tell all your listeners. That's what I tell my listeners. I talk about coming to see you. I'm like, if you watch CharlieWard, I said, I told you this last time. He reminds me of this bald, beardless Santa with a big smile, just sitting back, grinning, and he's got an AR-15 across his lap. I don't know why I see you like that, but that's what I see.
The smiling assassin.
A smiling assassin. They got surfing Santa out there. You're strapping Santa.
Ah, yeah.
So,
Well, as long as we get the message out, and I've often said this that when people just have a dig at me for the way I look, etc., which I've had on a number of occasions, not you, but many people have done, that doesn't bother me. When I was working in China and I was a bit bigger than I am now, I used to have a big, big belly, a big belly. I've probably lost, I don't know what it is in pounds, but I've lost about 7 to 10 kilos. Um, so 20 or 30 pounds I've lost of belly. And the kids in the lift, the Chinese kids, used to poke my belly thinking I was pregnant. And the parents would get, oh no, I can't. But for me, it was just fun. It never
yeah,
ever bothered me. I've never been offended. I'm not the sort of person that gets offended. I've lived life all over the world, been all over the world. And if you get offended and triggered by these things, then you never go anywhere. But if you embrace it with a smile, um, just smiling at somebody can change their life without even knowing it.
that's the truth. Well, just for the record, so you know, I've never seen you from the upper chest down, so I had no idea what you're talking about. I
Yeah.
just see some red on your cheeks. You always have a smile. It's like that's about how jolly Santa would be if I was going up to
Yeah.
get some toys. But I also know your background too. I'm like, he's got some armament somewhere around in that office. I just know that.
Yeah.
I know that.
God's definitely protected me 100%. And that's all the armor I need.
Well, I've said the same before. I've called down some heavy thunder and I don't have that kind, but I just told a friend of mine, I said, I don't know why. It might be foolish, irresponsible. I just know somebody's got to finally say it full throttle. And I just feel that I feel there's a divine cover. I don't worry about it at all. Now, I'm certainly, like I said, if somebody wants me, it's like Mike Adams. You come in here, there's, if it's, if it's necessary, we'll defend ourselves. But I really don't. I make sure I'm covered anywhere I go, but just to be safe. But you know what? These people have some big problems, and they sure as hell aren't me. They're looking for exits right now.
Yeah,
That's the way I see it.
Definitely. Well, Scott,
I'll tell
always
you,
a pleasure. Great to see you.
I'll look forward to seeing you on the backside of it. Hopefully, we can get together again. And
100%.
Always appreciate your time. My people love seeing you, so we're going to go ahead and get this video up on our channel and talk about Charlie Ward.
Well, God bless you, Scott, and God bless America.
You too, my friend. Great to see you, Charlie. Have a great day.
Buddy.
See you, brother. Bye-bye.
We did not engage in conflict that was